Hello everyone and welcome to today's video. I am Toby and I do the same introduction every time. I need to get more creative with that. But nonetheless, we are headed into the last day of week 5 of PEL. So only one more week to go. The next week, week 6, is going to be a little different in its format. There's going to be more games played. But it is nonetheless just one more week left to play. So let's go straight into game number 1. And see how it all panned down on here on day 3. Decent plane. Everyone can go where they want. 7 will go north rather than go down to the southern spot. Ents didn't want to. That's actually a little surprising. Looking at the plane path, it's not that far west. But nonetheless, don't want to go here. Impala is not going to be taken, so Desperados are going to be in Chuma. Those are like the only couple of teams that really change up spots in PEL. There's some, but it's mainly southern and northern and eastern. We rarely ever see those far eastern planes that force teams not to be able to go mountain and stuff. They do happen, but it's normally with a curve, so they can still go under and up. But let's see. First circle pops. Pretty center on everything. We don't know where it's gonna go at this point. And right off the bat, I mean, center is all compounds. And then of course we have the whole ridge line here. And then you have the high, like, plateau, I guess you can say, above. But would assume to see a lot of teams go for compounds, and really nothing else. I mean, you don't want to get stuck on the wrong side of this late game. So the same discussion that we've had on Erangel around the western side of Stalpa. You know, when you have that road that goes from Severny down towards the bridge to Yasnaya, if you want to be in the east side or the west side of that. In this case, do you want to be north of this? Wait, we can draw it on white. This is the mountain line, right? Do you want to be north of that or do you want to be south of that? In case you sit down here and the circle goes this direction, then you're going from an open area into an open area. That's of course not too optimal. But the thing is, on the flip side, if you sit up here late game and you want to go down here, there's only so many compounds. I mean, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 compounds. And yes, I know there might be a shack that you can play in the open or something like that. But you only have X amount of compounds, which means that if you sit up here and circle 4, circle 5 hard shift south, and it's a pretty even game, then odds are that all the spots down here will already be taken. Whereas if you have a spot locked down on the south already and you have to go north, then there are more areas where you can play out in the open. You can play the dips. This is just very difficult to play in the open, especially when all those compounds, and also when the hills are in play. Now let's see. Circle's gonna start closing in, and hello Bjorn. We're gonna fully focus on Bjorn. Everybody look at Bjorn the entire game. No, let's see what happens. Of course, the plane went, when does it went? And if you cut it up, it's pretty, actually it's a pretty even spread. What do we have? Phase, we'll count that as team 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.5. 7.5 teams on the southern side, which means 8.5 team on the north. So as far as right now, it's pretty evenly split on both sides. Liquid gonna split out, trying to get some compounds. Phase starts shooting. I would assume Fuss tries to scare them off. So Liquid, they're splitting on the west side of this. Again, you don't wanna have to traverse through this if you can avoid it. So what Liquid does is get this compound on the edge, which means they can go up if they have to. They can go down if they have to, without having to go up straight the hill, like straight up the hill, up straight the hill. Nice English, broski. DA splitting 2-2. Sixmo is kind of by himself, but they're all right for now. As you can see, certain teams prioritizing the southern side. Gamer Legion splitting up as well, and this is scary because now you get a player knocked. And now that you say that I shouldn't focus on you, Bjorn, now I have to. So Gamer Legion gets hamster knocked. I think he's like in the middle of his transition from one side to another. Mert spots him. He gets shot at by Iro as well. But all of a sudden, first of all, TSM knows and Liquid knows that in here we have Gamer Legion and DA. Not that that is necessarily going to influence what they do next, but it's just good to know which teams are where, and they full on commit to it. 4v1 now, Bjorn by himself. Macken and Fex, not a whole lot they could do to make a run over. He goes down. Now Gamer Legion is down to 2. unfortunate way to start the game, but that's what happens. Just one knock, boom, and all of a sudden you have lost 2 players. Circle is gonna come closing in. Let's see where number 2 pops. Pretty center once again. We have this mountain line up and influential in the circle. Nobody in Picado so far. We got some of these areas up here that are still up for grabs too. And I would assume to see, for example, in 47 ends as well, they want to get down from this hill. They want to get into something there rather than sit up on the hillsides. So let's see. And again, teams don't want to traverse through this, so a lot of rotations will be on this side or down this way, or even maybe like it could be even this for teams like Reciprocity and G2. Liquid splitting on the ridge line, trying to get some sort of control there. They can sit up here because they know they have the chance to back down to this if need be. The only thing is, I mean, Gamer Legion, yes, they're only 2 guys alive, and I think that's one of the reasons that that Liquid says we can play this, because normally this is, I mean, believe me, I know this compound in particular has 100% vision up to these guys. Like if you're Gemty and EB and you're running around in the open up here, most likely you're going to be visible to this compound. I mean, it's gonna be small people for sure, but we all know it's PEL. It's tricky, and they'll have eyes on them. The only thing is they know, I mean, Liquid knows that Gamer Legion only 2 guys up, so they have to focus more on what's nearby than what's, I mean, a half kilometer, a whole kilometer away from them. Let's see. Circle shrinks on in. We still have quite a few people up north. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. A little half-ish of the teams on the northern side. This is exactly the split we're just talking about. Do you want to sit north and have to rotate south, or do you want to sit south and have to rotate north? I would argue that you would rather sit south and go north than north and south, but from north to south, at least you have Picado. It's just a matter of how do you get there with the vehicle without either getting blown up or completely screwed over. Now New Circle pups. Oh, now we don't know, but odds are very small that the circle will go anywhere up here. So majority of teams will now try to make their way down. What do you do though? Do you want to go down this ridge line knowing that this is taken? Most likely there's going to be people around that can fight you. Probably not. So I would see the majority of teams wrap around the edges or wrap around the edges. I would not expect to see a lot of teams travel through this this middle point, but we can try and count it up. Let's just. I'm only looking at this right now to see how many people actually go through here. Only Reciprocity. So I'm only looking at this. We'll rewind in a second and I'll look at all the stuff that's going on below. But so far, only Reciprocity went through because they were already sitting here. Like they already had the control. So nobody went over other than Reciprocity, who already had the position. But let's see now. Everyone else traveling around this direction. And yes, as we say, all these compounds already taken. They're split between some, but already contested by multiple teams. Phase, crash in. Ratio Edge crashes in. Oh, that's 4v2. Did Phase know this? Maybe. Did they not? I don't know. But they crashed the compound. 4v2. Vex down, Macan down. All of a sudden, Gamer Legion out of the picture. In 47, they try to rotate further up. It's all about those small positions if you can get any better. And also, you would rather sit here. I think you would much rather sit up here and get crashed than sit in the gas station and get crashed, because there's going to be so many angles from which people can third-party you. As to over here, you have, in my opinion at least, some better cover to work with. Driving on that road should be suicide. Yeah, I agree. I actually don't know how. I think Phase just catch. I mean, look at the timing. Circle Pups had N47 stood here and started shooting, they would have killed 3 of them. But because Ivo is rotating and Vasco and T-Bone are down here looking this direction, like they hear those vehicles come in from Desperados, and immediately, look at this. They hear the cars rotating around. They know they're up there too. They've been shooting at them, T-Bone and Vasco. So they're sitting in here shooting, and Ivo is kind of the guy who had a chance to make a play on that, but because he's rotating when Phase comes in, and you can see Vasco and T-Bone running. They don't get up there in time. They manage to get through. So it's just a complete timing thing. Whether it was extremely well done by Phase or it was really lucky, I'm not sure. But they did time it practically perfectly on that push. Because had they been 10 seconds earlier, maybe T1 and Ivel would at least have been there. That could have been one knock. And would that have been 10 seconds later, 3 people would have been shooting, and then they would most likely, if not all have been dead, then probably 2 people would have died. Mert drives, look at the info. EB and Gemty sitting above, looking down for positions. As soon as Mert starts driving, and Mithralis is in the car too. Yesterday we talked about Liquid and their reaction time, and how fast they can put info into decision making. Very, very quick reaction. They get themselves a good spot in the circle. Reciprocity coming in from the east, like the eastern side, is the only team really. I mean, if you look down the line, they're pretty much the only team on the eastern side. They hard commit 3 to this spot, which actually surprised me a little bit. I thought they were gonna either take 5 story or something like that. Most teams, like people say, oh, but it always shifts out of the out of Picado. But I would still think that instead of sitting out here, you would rather be on the edge of like take this block instead. I don't know, but that's just me thinking. And then look at the split now. Look at the like if we concentrate the mass of teams to one or the other side, you have an area here. And yes, I know it's just one big downhill in that direction. But we have an area over on the eastern side of the map with Picado included. Everyone is saying, oh, it's gonna shift away from Picado. It's gonna shift away from Picado. But look at this west side. Everybody except, I guess you can say, Knights 7 and G2 on the west side. We got 12 teams playing the west of the midpoint right now. And if this next circle goes anywhere east, or pretty much anything that includes Picado, so many teams are going to be forced to make that move to the east. Look at the imbalance on like how early on it was like 9 teams there, 7 teams there, 8 teams there, 8 teams there. Now it's 2 teams east against 13 teams west. Because everyone is saying it's gonna shift away from Picado. The circle never goes into Picado. Well, maybe it does. This is such a horrible shift for everyone. Pretty much, except for Reciprocity. We all know, and I think that's the benefit that this normally tends to get shifted out from. And I don't think the teams over here expected that in this shift. But nonetheless, this is a very, very, very tricky shift for a lot of teams. A lot of it is going to depend on what DA and Liquid does, because if they decide to stay, if DA says, yes, we can go into Picado, but we'd rather play this compound, or if Liquid says the same, all of a sudden, this is going to be a roadblock that is going to be extremely hard to get through. I mean, you're pretty much forced to crash one of the compounds. You won't be driving this direction and actually making it, unless if they really miss a lot of bullets. Same thing down here. If TSM decides to stay, all of a sudden, this is a roadblock. You can't really get through. And you can kind of see now that if all you have to rotate east on is this and this, because your cars can't go down there, this becomes hard to drive through, if not near impossible. You can go around the eastern side, sure, if you're over there. You can actually come in from the entire east side if that's what you want to do. And then, obviously, nobody would be up here, but let's just draw it up as a compound anyway. So that would be a no, oops, that would be a no-go. Here, and then you can come in there. We'll just draw it up anyway. I know that nobody's actually rotating down here, but still. And then this compound taken would be a no-go. Actually, I would argue that this is probably not going to happen either, considering there's teams there. So you can kind of see already that if we have and west side with so many teams on it, still, if we line it up in the middle, right? Look at how little space they have to maneuver through. Like when we talk about bottlenecks and choke points in circles, if they don't rotate wide around like this, which is going to take a lot of time, and there's a billion teams over here already, and they have to get up the hill, over, down the hill, in, very difficult thing to do, they're pretty much forced to go through one of very few positions. And looking at 52 alive right now, let's just see how many teams are alive by the time this circle's actually shifted in. Let's take a look at it. Ends running over each other. That means that Navi gets close. That's unfortunate. NIP goes through there. G2 wraps around, through the middle, N47 tries to take the fight. Everyone is using the same spots. Now N47 crashed into Liquid. They want to take the fight, but that doesn't work. Edelweiss running down. He gets killed. So everyone is going through here, or here, or here. I mean, I drew up these in the bottom just for the sake of drawing them up. But we just lost 22 players. We lost 22 players and 6 teams on one circle shift. Not one, now the circle is shown. From the second the circle started closing in until it was in, we lost 22 players and 6 teams. That goes to show how insanely tough this circle was. FaZe forced to just smash it through. You can see the green where they drive through. They know they can go between those compounds. Ens and Navi forced to take fights. They both end up going down. N47 running into Liquid. They end up going down. Crow Crowd taken down by 7. 7 goes down immediately after. Very, very, very difficult scenario. But we do end up with this outcome that the circle is once more going to pop. And we keep Picado in play. Now, Reciprocity and, well, I mean, they're splitting 2-2, which makes perfect sense. Now they might want to, though, consider going over to this spot, just given the fact that it's, well, more center in the circle. FaZe can't really go anywhere. They could try and crash into Picado, but them being out in the open right now probably is gonna be more of an advantageous situation. G2, they've probably scouted down towards the motel and saying, if there's anything in here we can go for, that's what we're gonna do, and that's exactly what they do. Reciprocity gets over, gets one guy taken down. TSM is there to hold it. Liquid trying to play the back foot. It's not going to be exactly an easy place to play from. NIP forced to run in the open. Page has been running behind opponents the entire game. And Liquid now, as you can see, in trouble as well. Circle shifts east once more. And I remember watching this game. And I was like, there's only one place TSM can do anything from. If they try and crash into Reciprocity, I mean, yes, they could win that, but odds are that they probably wouldn't, because, I don't know, it's just a coin flip. There's the shack. It's a shack where if you play the back foot, you can actually see a little bit down in that direction too. But they go up here, or they can go up here, play the shack, because going this way, I mean, look at their alternatives, right? Crash. Once you're here, you can't really stop anywhere before you get all the way over here. So crash, fight, shack. They go to the shack. Iro, send over early. They get the rest on up. They probably would have wanted to rotate together, but now they do get to go anyway. Here they go. They're now playing this shack. Yanis gets over and plays the other shack because they know, I mean, the circle is most likely not going to include this corner, which means that we need to try and see if we can get something. So Nils stays behind, tries to hold the angle, while Yanis is rotating into the shack. He managed to make his way through. Somehow, and this was interesting to me, somehow Liquid actually managed to, with a little help of Reciprocity, I guess. James and Gemty managed to take out all of FaZe. That was impressively played by them. Managed to stay alive as well. We got 2 teams inside Picado, 3 if you count Nillis. NIP out of the equation. TSM starting to throw smokes now because they know odds are that we are not going to be inside the circle here. Like, we're not going to get inside. We need to do something. Throwing smokes forward. What can you play? Would it make sense to push into this? No, that's going to be shifted out from anyway. Would it make sense to push over here? Nah. Is there anything you can take in the center? Nope. Check. All you can do is smokes, because they know there's only one guy in there. So throw a billion smokes and just drive your way towards the shack, which is exactly what they do. And yes, I would love to show you the clip because it looks amazing and vehicles all over the place, but I don't want to get copyright striked and have my channel banned, so I'm not going to do that. DA forced to hold off on the northern side. Again, there's nothing you can play in here. Nothing you can play in here, especially not as long as the 5-story building is in. That just means, well, you're not going to be able to hide anywhere because these guys can see you no matter where you're hiding. So DA holding off Holding off Knights pretty well. DA, good late game position for them. 6 plays so far. How many kills do they have? 5. Decent game. Getting closer to a double-digit performance. Snark's trying to run in the back, and then things get weird. And this is what was really strange to me. So what happens is that Snark gets the knock onto Mert. And the knock onto Mithralius. Then he gets taken down. Or else it's Mithralius that knocks... Yeah, oh yeah, that's what it is. Okay, so Mithralius knocks Mert. Snark knocks Mithralius. So Mithralius for a second became a Knights player. Mithralius knocks Mert. Snark knocks Mithralius. A beautiful death comes around, but Sixmo gets the kill. Reset. Everything is good. We can now fight. I'm still not sure what happened here, but that happens. Circle is closing in, and you can see Sixmo wants to go for the res, but... And the thing is, they have a smoke right here. They have a smoke right here. So what they could have done is just have them lay there and res. And Mert is crawling like, when are you guys gonna res me? But that doesn't happen, so they both go down. And all of a sudden, what was them with a good position to fight from is now them stuck on the corner of the wall without anywhere to go, really. So DA forced to play it back foot, really safe. Beautiful. There's his miles out into the blue now. He's going to have to run in. Does get inside. On the back foot of that, we saw Liquid go down just before. Not a whole lot to it. Gustav and Iroh forced to do something. Again, smokes, nades, everything. They have a bit of a rich line here where they can hold off reciprocity. They're forced to do something. They can't say... Like, TSM at this point is in the exact same situation as DA. They're 2. I mean, they're 4, but now they're 2. And they both know, well, the sender is across, in their sake, across the road. In their sake, there's not really a road here, but still it's an open patch that they need to cross in order to get in. And I think DA, knowing that no one is out here, will say, well, if we can just force these 2 teams to fight, then we'll get a chance to get the final engagement, which honestly makes perfect sense. They are already a passive team, DA, in terms of fighting, and there's no reason for them to over-aggress when they're only 2 guys alive, and probably have broken vests and helmets and stuff like that. So they play safe on the northern side. Gustav crosses over, because they know, TSM, that if we don't get some sort of footing over here, I mean, if we have to run at some point both this direction and reciprocity gets a chance to kind of set up a play on the other side, then they're never going to get to leave. If they both get pinned inside the shack, they're fucked. Because this is final circle, right? It's going to go here. So Iroh stays behind, covers while Gustav shoots. Gustav starts shooting. Now Iroh can maybe make a run. Manages to cross. Again, beautiful death in 6 mode, just chilling on the northern side. Gustav gets over the top. Iroh gets a headshot on towards Shift. Crucial info, because everyone is saying, oh my god, Gustav 1v5. The same thing with the Uber 1v4 against Ens. I think it was in week 1. Where 8C had like 3 headshots, and people kind of forgot about them. So pretty big impact. Yes, Gustav got the kills. But... So, Iroh headshots Shiv. Gustav gets him down. 2 knocks. Iroh gets knocked now because they're focusing this way, obviously. Hadn't really had a chance to focus on 2 teams at the same time. And now, Gustav gets the finish off on towards reciprocity. In this case, what do? Can you res Iroh? Most likely not, because nades are going to start flying forward. Beautiful death. I don't know if he over peaks, but I mean, obviously, again, there's smokes and shit everywhere. We can't really... This doesn't give a lot of info because obviously they're not just standing like a Mexican standoff right across the road. But Gustav flanks around the side, finds the first one, gets the second one. It's a pretty straightforward 1v2 for Gustav. What I would like to have seen happen here, though, is that once they knock Iroh, like this is all about being able to quick math, right? They knock Iroh. 7 players alive, we're 2. Good. That means 3. Okay. You know, you do the math. We're 2, that means 5. We knocked 1, that means 4. That's 3 guys out. Good. 2v1. In this case, if you take a fight like this, because they've just heard him shoot, right? They must be able to turn around and see him. Beautiful Death is caught out of position. I think they weren't able to position fast enough. Beautiful Death gets called out, and there's no way for Sixmo to trade it. Had they been right next to each other or closer, and as soon as, like, while Gustav is shooting at Beautiful Death, Sixmo can start shooting at him, game could have been won by DA. But because he gets to shoot, stop, transition, and kill Sixmo, doesn't end up happening. So great game by Gustav, great game by TSM. Honestly, they were caught in a really tough position down in the south. Yes, they were on the correct side when this shift happened, but everything they did up against Reciprocity, I mean, there were so many ways that game could have gone wrong for them. Having to cross over to the shack, as we see. Having to cross from the shack down to where Yanis is, that could have gone wrong. And then the whole crossover, I mean, this alone could have gone terribly wrong. But they managed to make it work, they managed to get the win. And I believe, what did they end up getting? Gustav has 8, 13, 15 kills with it too. Very, very impressive. And yep, there you can see. Yeah, thank you. You guys can do that actually if you want to. That's completely fine. That's completely fine. You're welcome to link the what do you call it? You're welcome to link the clips in the chat. I can just not show them on the stream. So that's completely alright. But that was game number 1 on the day. Very interesting day. TSM finishing off strong on the top, of course. Everything else a little overshadowed by Gustav's performance there, but a really good game. I mean, how they got to that point was very, very impressive. Yeah, they couldn't really I feel like they could have probably had one up. I think it was Mithralius could have been rest, but I don't know. It was just like a really, really, really terrible situation for them. Game number 2. Coming your way. Ends Desperados, usual spot, 7 down south, alongside Navi. So we will have plenty of room up north, obviously. We will see where the hell... No, they go over here. Okay, so everything here is not contested. I mean, yes, okay, here. Everything there, not contested, at least not yet. Circle goes there. So, if you're an IP player, not an IP, if you're a Knights player right now, maybe even actually an IP too, you would have a chance to go take something more aggressive, because they know, obviously, Knights, they have just flown in their parachutes. Whee! They would probably see, well, there's no one El Pozo. Not that they have to go loot El Pozo, but knowing now that right now, for the next minute or so, at least, everything up here will be completely open for us to take. This is a situation like the ones where we see the eastern plains and the northwestern circles on Erangel, where Liquid just goes, oh, well, let's go towards South George, because there's no way NRP is there yet. You know? you never know, Bjorn. But anyway, let's look at this now. So they know it's open. They always go to loot here. No big surprises that FaZe and Drayden are splitting off this the way that they are. TSM rotating early. Might as well go see if we can get something quickly. They run in kind of to NIP, but as you can see, they know. TSM would never have rotated this early on this circle if it's not because they know for a fact that El Pozo is free. I don't believe that. I do not think that TSM would have rotated this early. I mean, they're rotating straight into NBS looting. That's how fast they are. They would never have done that, I think, had it not been because El Pozo was open. I would be very surprised to see that, at least. I hate how I cannot see S's for Ace with the new overlay or with the new layout. But hello, NBS. Nice to see you here. Can I recommend Discord for finding a Faceit team? Doesn't Faceit have its own Discord channel? I think. I don't know, actually. I think there's all those Scrim Hub, Scrim Ground, Scrim something. I think there's a lot of those type channels, but I honestly don't know how much they're being used. But nonetheless, let's see. We know there are 3 layers to this first circle. I think we can kind of line it up like this. So we have the north, or maybe we should do more like this. Over there. I hope this makes sense. Just looking at where circles tend to go. We have the hole, it's gonna end down here. We have the hole, it's gonna end here. And we have the hole, it's gonna end here. I think with the way that circles have been going, these are the 3 scenarios that players take into account in this situation. Can you prone and frag? Oh. I didn't get the reference there, but haha. M47 rotating up. Gaxi takes a center spot. I actually like this. So looking at how they rotate, obviously TSM kind of running through the middle. Gaxi being on a bike, couldn't really stop at the time, and he has to keep going. I mean, you can see them shooting. They stop to shoot. He has to tell the teammates, guys, roadblock, don't come this way. Maybe I should do it this way instead. Don't go that way. You have to wrap. And seeing their vehicles go this way, they have to make an even further transition. So cannot go up there. Opponents. Well, now we need to go like this. And that's obviously going to take a while. And Gaxi cannot just over-aggress on something. So NIP, well, there or there. Have to go all the way around. Works out though, because they're as early on the rotation as they are. Circle has barely even gone halfway in yet. Everyone's rotating in. Most teams don't go over San Martin, which is interesting. I mean, it's not, because it's obvious that it's not going to happen, but what it does force is that when you have so much space here on the circle that teams don't really use, it's only G2, because they are very late on the rotation. They know NIP would have left earlier. It means that, look at, if we just, there. Look at how smooth of a, what do you call it? How evenly split this is when nobody can go straight through. When you can go, like if 3 teams can go straight through, normally the bottom side is completely empty because the teams that were in the bottom just go straight into the center. But in this case, because everyone pretty much wraps like this, we get an even split of teams everywhere. So there's actually surprisingly much room, like a surprisingly high amount of room to rotate in the middle. But it does also mean that the teams that are on the edge, that like to sit out there early, we talk Navi, ENS, I guess you can say as well, Desperados to a certain extent, they now have more teams around them than what they normally do. Now let's see the second shift, because this is a fun one. This is a fun one. As even as it was just a second ago, all of a sudden this becomes tricky for two reasons. A, the teams that were center before, we're talking this bunch, some of them, ENS, Reciprocity, Navi to a certain extent, are still somewhat center, which means they really don't need to transition that far. If you're ENS and you're sitting on the high ground position, I mean, yes, you could rotate down here, but you'll probably stick around to a certain extent. If you're Navi, you're not going to go all the way down there. You're going to find a spot somewhere. Right now, I'm just marking random things in the center, but you'd find somewhere to go that is still within the center, or maybe even stay where they were, which means for the teams that are now coming in from the north, because we talked about how even they split they were, there's going to be a bunch of teams up on the northern side, TSM, Crowd, Ratio Edge, and NIP, 4 teams that now, yes, they can make their way down here. Oh, wait, they can't, because this is pretty much, it's not impossible to drive up, but you don't have vision over the top. So if you take a vehicle and go up slow speed here, and there's a lurking guy sitting up there, odds are you're going to go down. So these teams would either have to wrap around this way, or, I mean, go down this way, or go back the way they came from. But knowing that this is most likely contested too, just rotating up here is going to be dangerous. And that might force, I'm not saying it happened this game, but that could force you to be like doing even wider rotations than what you would do. And that's going to cost you a lot of time. So let's see, a big chunk of teams in the northeastern side of this circle. Also keep in mind, you cannot play this at all. So a big chunk of teams, this is going to force somewhat of a roadblock for the teams on the northern side trying to find somewhere to go. West. They all wrap around that way, realizing this is simply going to take too long. There's no reason for us to do it. We know there's going to be people out there too, and also you're going to be crashing into Montenuevo. Is that really what you want to do? No. So everyone tries to wrap around the western side. NIP, unfortunately, were the ones furthest north, so they are obviously going to be the furthest back in the line, I guess you can say. Teams fighting for compounds. Surprised to see, look at this. Nokia crashes the compound. At this point in time, I think 1.2 billion teams are looking to do the exact same things. Nuki goes in here, I don't know when he realizes that there are 3 other teams. Liquid, Navi's already here, FaZe, Crow Crowd. This is probably not the play you'd want to make in this situation, especially considering that Tixu got something free on the top. The thing is, he has some Mirado full speed forward, can't really just stop and turn around. Not exactly easy with that vehicle, so he's forced to go in. He ends up going down. And the sad thing about it is that with him being in there by himself and staying alive for a little while, that gives a... Had he died immediately... Let me put it this way. Had he died here, had he been dead now, had he been the dead player, believe me, Misa and Timmy would have gone in there. But because he's alive, it's oh, we can help him, we can get the center spot. How would that ever work out with 9 million opponents around? So Misa and Timmy goes to help a player that is practically already dead before they get there, and they all end up getting eliminated. Tixu, trying to make a play as well, goes down, Crow Crowd out of the game. Unfortunate, but should probably have stuck with what they had early. Not knowing, but expecting at least a lot of teams, because they're late to it, right? They're up here with Reciprocity and all the other guys. They have to expect with a circle shift like this, that this is contested years before they even get there. But I like to see that the first time they actually try to go center, they get killed. Like a Crow Crowd rotation here would be going from here and playing La Trilera. Probably wouldn't be, but you know what I mean. That one time when they finally crash something in the middle, they just all get completely wiped within seconds. So that happens. Everyone is trying to find some spot to play from. Not exactly easy, of course, but it does pan out for the most part. We only lose, I believe, that one team early on. NIP forced to stay on the top because, well, I mean, that whole thing happened there. Ratio Edge didn't go further. TSM didn't go further. Hence, NIP can't really go any further. You hate this shift? Yeah, it is pretty terrible. It's pretty terrible. Also because the way that teams were located before, because there was such an even split of teams coming, just what we talked about in the beginning, because teams split so evenly in getting to the circle, these guys up here will know. I mean, had it been a really, really northern circle to begin with, and the plane had gone like this, believe me, more teams would have been to rotate in like this on the next circle. Maybe not like that, but underneath that way. But because they know for a fact that this is where you play normally, these guys don't have far to go, it's simply not going to be worth your time. They go down, NIP, TSM, and Ratio Edge are forced to stay on the northern side. Game of Legion, the only team that actually does go south, with only 2 players alive, so it's not really going to have that big of an impact. You'd think not, at least. Ends, caught off, isolated from one another. Liquid trying to play together. Next circle, well, why don't we just continue going south? Look at this. And this, I like the statement. Was it Björn that said it just before? Yeah, knowing where this... Look at this first circle. Who would have thought that 2 circles from now... Let's just see. Who would have thought that 2 circles from now, this was going to be the bottom point of circle 4? Or 3, I guess. Look at this. Look at how close it is on the southern side. Hard shift. Hard shift. And now we're reaching a point at which... It doesn't have to go south. What do you mean? Oh, I guess maybe you can't go up there. Is there anything within this area that counts as the whole diagram heat map thing? Does any of this count as that? Maybe this one does? Oh. Yeah, okay. And if this one... I guess then technically it could have... Okay, we can put it this way. There's very... Okay, so there's where it is. Okay. Yeah, then you're pretty limited in options. In any case, what ends up happening with this shift is that looking at where teams that are currently north, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5-ish teams, Monte is going to be a shit show. And this entire circle is split off by a mountain running down the middle. So right now, Reciprocity, they can be all kinds of happy out on the eastern side, whereas to everyone else, literally all other teams are forced to, at least to a certain extent, unless if Knights wrap around, all the other teams are forced to play the west side, or the top. Hamster, solo player on the south, just chilling, making his way in. We got one team here, and 13 teams over here. Speaking of imbalance, very, 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 very interesting to see this shift. But that's because this pretty much, I mean, look at the formation of the cliffs, right? This just, it is pretty much a freak, like a, with the city here as well you can't go to. This just becomes a, what do you call it? A drain? What do you call them? In tract? What the fuck is a tract in English? Those things that you pour in something so it goes out in the end. Why am I so bad at English? Intract. Funnel. A funnel. Okay. It becomes a funnel. Thank you. Bottleneck, I guess I was just looking, because I always use the term bottleneck. I was just looking for another word that would make sense too. But yeah, it pretty much becomes a funnel, and the teams can't do anything about it. You can't just go up here and go, well, let me just blindly drive down the other side of the road, of the hilltop. Not gonna happen. So you're forced to play on the side at which you have knowledge. And also there's so many teams on this side now that Navi can't just say, no guys, I want to play on the other side. There's so many teams here that you get fucked by. It's really not that easy to maneuver around. Now let's see. Knights, Rage Edge, forced to fight on the northern side. Knights end up getting taken down. Circle shifts again. This one could go anywhere, practically. But ends up going south once more. Desperados, I don't know how they did this, but they get one thrown right at them. The circle shifts down south again. And this time around, again, if we split them up, look at the concentration of teams. Everybody knows that the north is where the mass of teams is. And you would just say, oh, but Toby, why don't teams just do this? There's so much room. As I said before, you can't do that. Unless if you're DA, who might be able to do something like that, there's just so many teams around you. And keep in mind that for any team that is not currently on the top, Reciprocity, DA, Squeaky, I guess, they have to drive uphill first. They have to start that rotation. If they want to go out this way, they have to drive steep uphill first, which means no speed in your vehicle, whether it's a bike or whatever. And odds are there's either going to be teams on the top shooting at you, or before you even get up there, you're going to get shot at and your vehicle is going to get popped. Also, the fact that all these teams have made it into this cluster earlier, those vehicles they're driving now, most likely something around half HP or anything of the sort would end up getting you, well, fucked. If anyone still has a 100% durability vehicle with all tires up at this point in the game, I would be very surprised. So these rotations, as easy as they may seem when just looking at the map, it's really not that easy, believe me. It's really, really not that easy. NIP forced to crash in towards the middle. Again, trying to cramp their way through. There's literally no room to do that. They end up going down. MBS still alive, solo with James. He goes down too. There's just too much pressure on all sides. I mean, I have no idea, honestly, how James is allowed to play this solo. But as you can see, I mean, they're trying to plow their way through this, and there's just no way in hell that is ever going to happen. So James stays put. Navi plays slow on the edge. More teams are making their way up. Squeaky tries to wrap underneath. He gets found. In the meantime, Gamer Legion, Desperados, and TSM are like, I wonder when opponents will come to us. And, well, now it may happen, because they both have to leave, at least two of them. So Gamer Legion, they can, I guess, technically wrap up behind. TSM would... Oh, my bet here is that Gamer Legion could do this. TSM could see that, go here, and then either push in or try and follow. Or TSM could crash Desperados. That would be strange to me. I don't think that's going to happen. And Or else Game of Legion could try and run in. But I think as soon as they cross here, they're pretty much visible to the Desperado compound all the way through. So, interested in seeing how this all turns out. So they go to the... Huh. Okay. Does that keep them alive, though? Well, I do want you to take out Navi. Okay, never mind. They play the ridge line. They say, okay, we're not going to play south. We know there's a team here. We know there's a team here. They're up here. We know there's a team in these two compounds, meaning can't do shit. And there's a, I mean, alongside the most of it, there's like a gutter on this side. And I think they say, if we can just clear, if we can make sure that we have this entire part of this new circle to ourselves, which they will need to kill a lot of teams in order to do. But if they can keep this to themselves, they have this much, like they have this space to kind of transition in between. So no matter where the next circle goes, either they can try and wrap up there or they can try and wrap into the compound because they know that this will be all clear. They were still sitting here themselves and they can help take the northern side of it. And well, in all fairness, it works out pretty impressive for them. Hamster and Makan did indeed go to the southern side. And now we can see now they have all this to kind of maneuver around in without really anyone consisting them. New circle pops, and because they have the space, they have an access point on that side. Not going to say that that's going to be an easy rotation, but they have a chance to make a way in. Macken and Hamster, not a whole lot they can do from where they are. As you can see, Scoom and Monkey are kind of trying to... They're just playing lockdown. I think nobody from Reciprocity at this point cares about what happens inside the compound. Udyr, of course, making sure no one can come through this way and trying to probably also hold underneath there. And, I mean, if you're N47, unless if it's a really good opportunity, you probably wouldn't hard commit to YOLOing this until it really, like, until shit really goes sideways for all of them. So they're going to play the compound. Crazy fight ensues. Pretty quickly finish on towards Game of Legion. They start fighting, and as I said, now they go. They have sat, they've held the north, they've said, good, we have at least, I don't even know what this is, 300 meters of space, meaning that if we can engage up here, once they have started fighting, if we can take this fight fast enough, you see immediately, he actually gets a shot on towards, I will get a shot on towards Samty. If we can engage this fast enough, then there's no way that these guys will be down here by the time that we get back here again. Even if they sprint all the way up here. So so they try and push up. They get to third party to some extent, but it kind of dies out, and they obviously value the compound over trying to go hungry for kills in the open. So they go back to the building and know that Desperado have to push forward. I'm not sure exactly what the structure is. Oh, this is the place where you have like the whole ridge line going down this way, right? So it's like a downhill on this side. So they can't actually see them when they're outside the buildings. And I think that's also a reason why they don't over-aggress on the opposing teams. Yeah, because they have like the whole ridge line here to sit on, which makes a bit of a difference actually to their positioning. So they can see most things. Scoom is by himself on the northern side. Hey, look, it's Team Liquid. He can make his way in there. Circle's gonna center on the dot. Ival and T-Bone and Page. As soon as they've cleared their back, which in this case is just two Desperados players, but it really becomes a big factor. As soon as they can clear this, that's when they can really start focusing forward, because they cannot start moving, they cannot do anything when there's a risk of them getting backstepped. They need to deal with that before they can do anything else. And now they can start being dynamic. Now they can start peeking those angles. Scoom gets taken out. Great play by T-Bone. 3v3 now. Pretty, I mean, this is, and again, this is a terrain fight. We can't see the whole terrain with the view, but if you guys have any clips of the, this is, maybe I should hire a mod to be the one that puts in the clip I'm asking for when I need it. But if anyone has a clip of the end game, if you didn't already watch it yourself, pretty interesting one. Of course, a billion smokes, and in the end, T-Bone and Ival stays alive. Vasco, or Page was knocked, but they managed to get the win with 10 kills. Yeah, exactly. It's a steep hill for them. That's what I said. From this spot, you pretty much have downhill on like on all the sides around. Good spot for them to be in. Had the compound, knew when to disengage, knew when to play it. Yeah, they were sitting above and they were fighting uphill, which is always hard. Great place from N47. They said they only wanted one win, but now they got two. Should see themselves happy with that. But that was game number 2. We'll go into game number 3 on Sanhok in just a moment. Let us just first go over what you guys are saying. Someone wrote a long one earlier. You don't know how much I appreciate this If we're doing these, just wish you could show the actual POV. Yeah, I would love to show. I would love to show. I would love to show the POV as well, but I'm not gonna do that until I get permission to by the people who do the tournaments, because I don't want to get the copyright striked or anything like that. Blah blah blah. Toby, we better to switch to a replay where you can show. Yeah. Yep. I know. I can't do that though. That's what we talk about all the time. I would love to, just like whenever we get to endgame, just go into the actual VOD and use that, but I'm not gonna do that until I get permission. Now, let's see. Our super duper favorite map of Sanhok. What do? Interesting plane to start things off. We have Ends, Reciprocity, Knights, maybe Desperados. Seems like they've jumped already. N47. X amount of teams will have a somewhat difficult time getting to where they normally go. I'm not saying that's where they're going to go, but getting to where they normally go. Reciprocity commits to go past. Desperados jump out early again. Ends is just going to go north around and then maybe wrap out if needed. And then we get this. Bjorn, he sees this circle and he's like, I don't have to do anything for 4 circles now. Other than make sure nobody comes to my hill. Didn't mean the exact POV was talking about random replay that you can show. Oh, okay, that makes sense, I guess. I mean, I would have to make that replay, but if, that might not actually be a bad idea. Let me think about that for prepared for this moment so much. Like one day it will happen. Would this be a good idea, guys? Hear me out. If I went into a replay of, I mean, it's not going to happen today. I would have to set it up first. But if I have PUBG open, and then whenever we get, for example, to endgame like that, would you want to see? I just go to the, like, go in the observer mode, fly over. It's not going to be, the players won't be there, and the situation won't be the same. But just so you can see the terrain, would that make sense for you? So that we can kind of combo it that way. So I have this, like the map stream, and then when I reference something like, oh, then they went to that dip, then whoop, we go into the game real quick, and then I show you, this is the dip, this is where they were sitting, this is where they were sitting. Would that make sense? So the players wouldn't actually be in the replay, but you would see split screen. Now you're talking fancy stuff. I don't even know how to do that. I would not even know how to do that, but maybe you know what? I'll play around with it. That's a good idea, Lipson. Yeah, so we could see the compound and how it worked. That would be a good idea. I don't know why I've never thought of that before. That's actually not a bad idea. It's not going to be today. It's not going to be now, because I would have to set up some overlays and stuff like that. But maybe that's going to be, because now the season is kind of over. It's not over, but it's over soon. But that could be a good thing to work on for the next season. Not a bad idea, Lips, and thanks for the idea. Anyway, let's go back to the game. Water, island. I wonder where it's gonna go. Let's see. I think that's all I need to say in this case. Also, I wonder how many teams Bjorn will have to fight up on this hill now. Game Elite is like, we want the hill. TSM is like, no, we want the hill. For those of you guys who don't know, I'll explain it in a second. I'll explain it all in a second. TSM realized there's people on the hill. 7 want the hill. Ratio Edge wants the hill. NIP wants the hill. Everybody wants the hill. The thing is, on Sanhok, for those of you guys who don't know, on Sanhok, circle 3, not circle 4, goes away from water. Which means, in this case, unless if it hard shifts something like this next circle, then, I mean, if it's anywhere, if circle 2 is anywhere on this island, and you can see where the water is, circle 3 will pretty much always, if not being center on the mountain, then have that mountain included. And if you're included in circle 3, you're pretty much good to play on foot the rest of the game, no matter where you're positioned. I mean, I'm not saying it's going to be easy. I'm just saying then you don't have to consider, oh, we need to take vehicles now, if you're inside the circle on circle 3. On Sanhok, that is. So obviously, Gamer Legion land in that area because they want to have a chance to make plays up on that side of the map. And now you can see, next circle, where can it go? It can only go here. It's not as big as I just drew it up, but it can only go over here, which means, I mean, that's what's gonna happen. And that's why they go there, because they know once the circle goes up here, it will go to us no matter what. Reciprocity, they wrap around with boats. They wanted to avoid this fiesta, which makes perfect sense. NIP, TSM forced to take a fight. Gustav and Ivor runs out. They get spotted by Bjorn, hits both of them, but they do manage to get to the compound. So that's a little bit of a, now we have to deal with them being in there. This is like playing, have you ever played any of those tower defense games in the old World of Warcraft, or balloon game with the monkeys shooting balloons? All those things, same format, where you have to build towers to make sure that the monsters don't get through your maze thingy. That's pretty much what it's like to play up here, or playing zombie games, where it's like waves of opponents coming at you. So that's what Gamer Legion are doing right now. They need to make sure not to leak any players up to their mountain, and they just leaked 2. It's not the biggest issue, but it's yeah, exactly. So okay. So maybe the uphill from here to here is still steep enough that it's not much of an issue. But just in general when playing this area, and I think you will agree with me too, Bjorn, that this, like, playing this is all about making sure no one gets up to you. Because if there's 2 teams up here all of a sudden, then everybody else knows, oh my lord, there's a fight going on up there. This is our chance to take the mountain. 3rd party, 4th party, 5th party, 6th party, chaos on the mountain. Because if it's only one team, nobody will dare to really contest, just because they will have like 99% advantage of you slowly running up a super open hillside. Hope that makes sense. Keep that in mind. And that's why, of course, certain teams really prioritize jumping in this spot. It's the same with teams that jump on military. They jump military because, I mean, it's not always that reason, but they will jump military because of the chance that the game could go military, and then they have a big advantage. Same thing here. N47, everyone else fighting outside. This, as I said, where could, even if that circle went further west out here, it would still have been with the center on the mountain. Just to put even more point to what I was saying. DA, they have to make their way over somehow. Liquid trying to hold the side. Everyone is just holding each their side. Ends trying to make their way in from the north. This whole area is literally unplayable. DA forced to try and run up the hill. Nope, not gonna happen. They wrap around instead. And now, of course, the circles can go anywhere. So now it can hard shift north, and all of a sudden, you might not be in the best position being on this hill anymore. The only thing is, they will not have to worry on the mountain on getting around it. If you, let's say this circle had hard shifted north. Let's say it had gone up here instead, where like the circle would be like this. If you're a Navi, no matter if you're 4 guys alive or not, yes, this would be the fastest. This will take a long time. This will take a long time. Look at the amount of compounds you're running through. Pretty much running straight through there, right? On the west side, you're running through Camp Alpha. That is really, really difficult to do, especially when you still have 41 players alive in your game. So sitting on this mountain already, even if the, like after circle 3, even if circle 4 shifts away from you, you always have a somewhat clear transition, no matter what side you're going to. So let's see. Everyone's making their way towards the mountain, and again, same position or same situation for Gamer Legion as before. Just need to make sure that no one else gets up the mountain. If we can force them to stay close to each other, then we can force them to fight, and that will be, that's gonna be like a perfect situation for Gamer Legion. And that's kind of what's happening right now, right? Everyone is starting to run in to each other on these sides. Gamer Legion might not get a lot of kills this game, but this is a situation where if we can just like remain, it's like literally king of the hill. If we can stand up here and make sure nothing happens, it's like whenever you went to the swimming pool when you were a kid and you had that mattress, like the floating mattress, and you had to stand up on it, and then the other people had to try and push you off and be the one standing on the mattress. That's pretty much the game in this case. And right now, Gamer Legion are standing on the mattress. I think I've done enough weird examples now. But of course, it also becomes hard that once the circles are as small as they are, 19 is still up. Gamer Legion, if they start playing as 4, like if they go 4 guys and say, good, now let's prioritize this, that's going to allow for another team to push up. So they need to stay split the way that they are, which means if they get knocked, it's gonna take a long time for Hamster to get over if he can even get to Bjorn. And B, once he does that, that leaves his side of the circle open. So that's extremely dangerous. You really have to rely on your teammates to be able to, I mean, you really have to trust, I mean, I guess that kind of goes with everything, but you really, really have to trust your teammates in order to make it work. Liquid, eliminated. Game of Legion push over towards face. Still 4 guys up and alive. Circles, bang center on this freaking structure where you guys all know this area. It's like where you are in the spawn. When you're spawning on Sanhok, you're always up here. Downhill, Uber, first phase. 4 guys versus 2. They know the situation. Just play it together. Bjorn takes the dot. Not a whole lot to it. Push together. Wipe, death. And they end up getting themselves 11 kills. Good game for Game of Legion. 21-point victory in a game that, it was by no means guaranteed that they were going to win it, because a lot of things can happen in PUBG. But we can all agree, I think, that they had the best position for a very long time. But good game. Good game nonetheless. It's always interesting. Those are, I think, like when it goes south, there's certain it's just very predictable up here. Not necessarily who wins, but how things kind of play out. Whereas if it goes south, even though a circle might only be able to go within these areas, a lot of different things can happen. And same thing on the eastern side. But good game by Game of Legion. It's one of those where, the military team should always be the one winning military games. Not true. And equally so, the mountain teams shouldn't always be the one to win those games. So impressive that they managed to pull it off. Game number 4. All right. Interesting plane. N47 out early. They have a plane where, they could go GS if they wanted to, but not gonna happen. I think that this is partially them saying Ratio Edge is gonna go here because it's not really a military plane, and there's no reason in landing up there to contest loot when we can just get down here early and get going. Does that make sense? It just seems somewhat pointless. So the splits will be pretty standard. 7 back out on the eastern side. Chopstick split. That's a chuff one to say. I cannot even talk anymore. And the circle goes southwest. I wonder where this game might end up ending. I am forcing myself through sentences that are not very easy to say. Also, does anyone have a name for this area yet? Because I have a name, and I want everyone to use that name, so that one day I can say, ha! Kids, your dad came up with that name. I just think we should call this whole field 4 Shack. Because there's 4 shacks on a line. Then you always know where to go. You call it field. Holy shit, Björn. You're like the most creative person I've ever met. You're probably also one of those guys that whenever you get shot at on Sanhok and your teammates goes, where is he? You say, oh, he's behind the tree. Is that you, Björn? Vex, is that what it's like playing with Björn? Oh, he's behind the tree. Oh, okay. End game in Pachinki, and Björn goes, oh, he's shooting from the window. Oh, okay. I see how it is. I'm just kidding, by the way. Björn is a great guy. In any case, we don't even have to draw them up, do we? I believe you guys, for the most part, are so educated now that you don't need me to do this every single time. Of course, there could be new people coming in, so we'll do it for their sake. But for the most part, rotations are pretty straightforward. Coming from east to west, you can go over here, you can split down there, you can transition over the northern side. I have drawn up a map for this, so I think I should have that linked somewhere. But now you can. Fuck. We don't do that here, Björn. In any case, yes, there are team streams in PUBG. Circle is gonna start closing. Let's just wait for that. Bjorn threw me off by doing self promo on my channel. So toxic, man. 7, again, a team that A, rarely ever do the same thing twice, and B, position themselves in areas where they're being annoying to a lot of teams. Oh, I didn't even notice that. I didn't notice they asked for it. Sorry, Bjorn. I hope they were fast enough to copy it earlier. I just thought you were doing self-promo for fun. I'm sorry. I actually didn't see. Here you go. That's the Gamer Legion Twitch stream. We'll draw up this area, just because I have a somewhat of an idea that a game might go down here at some point. Field. Field. Yes, these two are in. That too. Field. Field. Field with that in. You can kind of see what picture I'm drawing up here, right? I'm trying to put emphasis on the fact that in this area of the map, there are a lot of fields. Heinz, thank you for the resub, man. There are a lot of fields on this side of the map. And what does that leave us with? A lot of players forced into very, very condensed areas. Forest is going to be played. Center forest is going to be played. This hill played. This mountain played. But nobody will set foot in any of these areas before they know they have to. And that's the thing. Once the circle commits, let's say the circle is so far north now that you know, well, at some point it's going to go out here. It can end in the city, but that's when you can start pushing into the fields. Same thing south. You can't really commit to the southern positions. Like, you don't want to sit on the shack and get your vehicle tires popped, because then how the fuck do you ever leave that place if the circle goes north, right? So nobody's going to play those fields early on. And, well, oh, TSM, did they? Okay. We've seen them do that a couple of times. I like to see it. Creative plays. It's not really because it's super creative. It's just, it's a little different than what some teams do. But then again, I mean, G2 has been very good at setting up. Maybe not intentionally, but their timings have just been off from one another. And that allows for TSM to push over the bridge. What happened with Fields? Not a whole lot. Not yet, at least. FaZe doing the exact same thing, coming in from the northern side. Wait, where did... Okay, never mind. Circle then pushes south. And with this shift... there we go. If you're coming in from the northern side, compound, that you can't really rotate through. I mean, the whole chopsticks is just horse crap to rotate through. And then when you get into the circle here, because technically, yes, you can rotate through here. But where do you go? Because this is taken. This is a compound. So you have this you can drive up. This is most likely going to be taken. This you can drive up. This you can drive up. You see what I mean? It's not exactly an easy transition to make if you're sitting on the northern side. Compound down here, can't drive through. Can drive through. Can't drive through here. That's gonna be scary. And then of course you can drive through the all the way down here. But if you're coming in from the north, which a lot of these teams are, can't really go through the swamp with vehicles either, unless if you come around this way. So this would practically be impossible to bring cars through, unless if you wrap around this way. So this is green, but this whole thing is red. I hope this makes sense to you guys. This becomes somewhat green. We should probably make it purple not exactly easy to do. And then all the way down here is practically red. Wait, it's not. Oh, yeah, I just don't know where to go from here. So looking at the northern side, you're very limited in what opportunities you have as far as rotations go. If you're a DA, where can you go from here? Let's see what they end up doing. They go through the first green, stop. Through the second green. Okay, DA makes it through. If you're knights, well, that's easy enough. They see liquid leaf, this is open, they go take it. If you raise your edge, through the green. Into the forest. If you're ends, rotating out here, we'll just move the camera a little so you guys can see. Rotate around, into green, Desperados do it, ends do it. And some people come to me and go, oh, Toby, how do you know? Like, how can you know what they're going to do? And it's not because I can sit and say, ends goes to this shack on this position. Sometimes you can, but for the most part you can't. Whenever I do these drawing ups of green and red lines, it's just, I mean, if you know the map well enough, doesn't matter whether it's one or the other map, then I think for the most part, and you apply some logic too as well. If you're reals and you try to go into the circle, but you know there's a team here, obviously you're not going to be driving through that compound. You would make a big circle around that team. But oh no, there's a team there as well, so we can't go through there. That means we have to bounce even further. And then if it gets far enough out, then you're like, would reals really want to spend that much time driving over here? Nah, maybe not. He would go the other way. Like you can try and kind of put yourself into the mind of what they do. And also, if you've seen enough games and seen what their tendencies are, then of course it helps. So if you've seen reals in this exact spot before and knew, well, when this was available, he would do that. Now it's not available. What will he do then? But you can do that enough times. You've pretty much seen a player in not every, but in most different scenarios. And then you can kind of start seeing those patterns, I guess you can say, or similarities come into play once more. TSM rotated south, Desperados is down there, ends they stopped on the edge, having heard shots fired from all the teams, didn't want to have to push further through, and also might as well just sit here, wait for the circle, because Crory is going to be a hellhole to push through, so why not position yourself on the backside of it, so you can always make a rotation around the side you have to. If it goes south, you can go south around. If it goes north, you can go north around. If you're sitting here and you're in 47, you have to spend time getting back out in order to get around. Yes, you can go up here, but I'm just trying to make an example. Whereas if you stay on the back foot for a little while longer, you can play it whichever way you want to, and since ends is an edge team anyway, doesn't really have the biggest impact. DA playing smart and safe. Now this circle happens, and that's where it gets funny, because we talked about our beloved 4-shack field just before. Now we have reached that point where, yes, you can put 2 players on each side of Croy, but in this circle, with it being so far on the edge, odds are you don't want to go up there and play that, because getting down from it again can be tricky. Now we've reached that circle, which we talked about just before, with the situation where we now know it's not going up in this field. It's not going up in that field. The game is either going into this field or going to one of the positions on either side. But because the water is going to get shifted away from, then we know it's not going to hard shift south, which means there will most likely, at least, be some part, even if it goes as far south as it can, there will be somewhat of the field, some part of the field still in. This means that teams can now start consider whether they want to commit to these positions or not. We know it's an end game, like we know it's a dead end play. If you go to a shack, odds are that by the time you've been there for 10 seconds, your vehicle has lost all their tires, if they haven't been blown up. And you're going to be sitting in that shack until the circle forces you to leave. And when you're forced to leave, odds are that you will either die or have to fight. I mean, you cannot sit in here and just chill. So, and also odds are that you are going to get contested, because there's only really X amount of shacks to play around, right? So teams have to consider whether they want to start committing to these positions, which, as you can see, a lot of the teams do. They want to have those spots, and they don't even care. I mean, you can lose 3 players and have 1 guy make it there. It's still potentially going to be worth it, based on the fact that the circle shifts to you and you get a good placement. Had you been 4 up here, I mean, like, you might be better off being 1 guy with a guaranteed shack than being 4 guys trying to make a rotation in. I think 7 will show you why a little later. So that happens. They all go down, which is kind of interesting, because Ratio Edge is holding the angle, TSM pushes in, and it's actually Gamer Legion who end up killing them, so they now know, 2 teams have just been eliminated here. I wonder what we can do with that info. They'll stay in the forest for a little while longer. Again, don't go into the forest if you don't have to, but they know for a fact that this position is going to be open. You didn't know? Raise your edge. TSM. Pew pew. Double wipe. I guess there's a billion names in the kill feed. I mean, you must have known that you got the insta kill on. Yeah, I was gonna say you must have known that you got the insta kill on TSM. But you didn't know Ratio Edge got killed. Huh. Okay. Because I was thinking maybe even though you want to hold this, maybe send 1 guy in case the circle shifts. In any case, so they don't know. Thank you here for being here. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. There's a billion things going on at the same time. And it's so easy for us to just press pause and talk about things, whereas to the players, constantly everything is going on. And they actually have to play the games. We don't. Ends trying to make their way around. They managed to do so. 7. They wrap all the way around. Oh, wait, this might not actually be that game. It's not that game. Wait, did both though? I didn't watch the second to last game. Did both those games go into that field? Spoiler alert, next game will end here as well. That's interesting. I thought this was going to be that game. It's not. Okay, so 7 wraps south around. Yeah, you do. That is true. DA push around. They want to go in. Game of Legion, of course, they know they have to deal with them, and they do. Wipe. They just need to play dynamic. Like, you need to, if you're playing this area, you need to have this buffer zone. As soon as any player makes it within your buffer, with the exception of HC and the Shack, you need to wipe them out in order to not get breached by multiple teams. So maintain your buffer, and you're most likely good. Because same thing with N47, or actually the same thing with Game of Legion in the Sanhok game. If you know for a fact this is your buffer zone, where no opponents are, and the circles keep coming to you, that's going to force all these teams into bottlenecks, and most likely you'll end up, you might not get all the kills, but there's nothing better than having everyone else fight each other while you can just chill in the middle of the circle. G2 pushes up, FaZe pushes up, Senya has pushed over, and now Na'Vi comes in as well. All of a sudden, that buffer zone that Game of Legion had just before is not really that much of a buffer zone any longer. Vex by himself, FaZe now full on pushes up on it, and things got out of hand too quickly. They end up going down. Desperados force a fight with Na'Vi. FaZe are there in the backside. Circle goes center, and now TSM Team Liquid can push out. Don't want to hard commit to it. We want to keep 2 players with vision on the off-angle position, so they push them over one by one. NIP knows we have to make that run out from the field. They have to take the fight to Desperados. Not gonna end up working out for them too well. They do manage to stay on their feet though, and fortunately for NIP, the Desperados that was holding off them now gets pushed on by FaZe, so they can get a little bit of a swamp, or like a sandwich, push on towards them. They go down. NIP, while making sure that they have their kind of hold off from FaZe, help out and take out the guys in the field. So now it's a 4v4v2 with NIP being outnumbered. And again, this is where we could go into the, like, do a little that's actually not a bad idea. I like the idea. NIP, the only team outside the circle, they're gonna go down. Liquid has the ridge line, they can push up and over. I think FaZe has the dip down here kind of position. Nobody really in the center yet. Now it's just a straight on 4v4. Not a whole lot more to it. 2 down, 3. Did first go down to blue? Mexico's down to the blue. No, he gets shot too. Okay, they both get shot at. Uber by himself. 1 guy left alive. It's a 1v1. 8 and Samty on top of each other. Okay, there's 9 billion smokes in here. And he finds him. There's no way in hell these guys are sitting on top of each other without like a billion smokes. So. Oh, he got caught resing. Ah, that's what happens. Okay. So game ends, Liquid wins, yet another good game for them, and this one, not just a good game, but a 18 kill, wait, that's not true, 15 kill win. Really, really impressive. We see other teams with decent amount of kills too. FaZe managed to get 7 kills. But obviously, I mean, Liquid, from the position that they were in, they had that compound for the longest time while everyone else were fighting. You see how they were sitting here. Ends try to breach, they managed to wipe them out. And yeah, they came in early, took the position. This is funny because when you look at where the first circle went, there's a 2-2 split. Not a lot of teams would have this split. Not a lot of teams would maintain this split for very long. They managed to do it, hold them off. You can see G2, they're constantly looking down towards the compound. But because they never get knocked, because they constantly keep them at bay, they manage to work things out pretty damn well. Game of Legion, they go down with 6 kills. No, 7 kills. So that's the end of game number 4. We'll go into the final game of the day, and the final game of the week as well. I'm really talking weird today. I said in the beginning I was tired. I can feel that. My head is completely off. Now let's see. Different circle. Hey Toby, glad I found your channel. First time tuning in live. I watch a bunch of YouTube. Now GLG college team. Oh, thank you much. Thank you much. Thank you so much. Thank you much. I'm glad that it's helping. I really am. Truly, thank you. I love to see people find it useful. That's, I mean, I put in, the thing is, I do these videos primarily because I was gonna watch the games anyway. Like, even before I started doing these videos or doing it on YouTube, I was always doing this by myself. Like, I would just go into the map streams before this program was available, and then I would sit on the map streams and rewatch the games on the map stream to learn more about the teams. We're talking like a year ago. And now, with this available, I did it anyway, and then I was like, might as well share it with people. So I'm just really, really glad that people find it useful, because I have a very enjoyable time making these. Now, this is again one of those where, I mean, you talk about a team being unpredictable. I'm having a hard time. I want to talk to them about it, but I'm having a hard time figuring out how 7 prioritize when to play this and when to play this. Because sometimes the plane is so obvious for them to go here, like this one, but they end up going Nobo. And sometimes the plane goes straight over Nobo, but they end up going up here. So I can't really figure out exactly. Maybe it's just one of those, you know what, guys? We'll figure it out in the plane, what we feel like doing, and then we'll do it. But going up against those opponents can be extremely tough for other people. My brother used to be a very good poker player, and he said that some of the most hard people to play against, like some of their most difficult opponents that you can get up against in poker, was people who didn't know what they were doing. Like, people, I'm not saying 7 doesn't know what they're doing. I'm just saying that if you're like, how do you know if a guy is bluffing if he doesn't know if he has a good hand? Same thing here. How do you know what 7 is going to do if they never do things for the reasons you think you would pick one or the other? And that, I think, for a team like Liquid in particular, is annoying, because yes, once they're jumping, they can see whether they actually went out there or not. But Liquid has always been a team previously that has been very fast on Western rotations. But whenever 7 is here, obviously they can't just drive straight through them. And they've had fights down here where they've lost players. They've had fights up here with them before as well. And it's got to be frustrating when you're Liquid. I mean, in this plane, if I was a Liquid player, I would be expecting to see parachutes over here from 7. But this time around it doesn't. And yes, it doesn't make the biggest impact, but it forces you to be on your tippy toes all the time in these situations. I'm just trying to figure out the logic behind it, but maybe it's one of those situations where it's more a feeling thing for them. So sometimes they do one thing, sometimes they do the other. It's just this plane, it would seem very obvious to me that was a jump you made. But I don't know what makes them decide on going to either one or the other. I'm very curious to know though. I'll ask Zadovnik at some point. So they go down towards Novo. This is gonna be open. Gemty obviously knows this, so with this circle popping, they now know. And this is where we've talked about Liquid before, being fast at reacting. This is where I want to see pretty much all of Liquid immediately go take something out here. Because they should know that it's free. They're not. I would have thought Liquid would have been much faster on this one. But maybe it's one of those, well, the plane came in. Maybe they didn't, I don't know if they didn't pay attention, or maybe they didn't see it. But having this circle, I would have thought they would have gone two-way split here, or two-way split, something like that, very early on, rather than stay inside of Pachinki. But I would not, what do you call it? I would not be surprised if they just didn't pay attention to the sky in this circle, because obviously 7 is gonna go loot here. It's just, again, one of those situations where when they don't, that's gonna get you confused. But they probably have their own reasons for not doing certain things. In any case, any teams doing anything interesting, ends they're going north, George, could have gone Stalber if they wanted to go all the way there. Obviously, that's not gonna happen. And other than that, no big surprises. Ratio Edge didn't want to contest in Yasnaya. They go below, and 7, as we said, could have gone up here, but they decide to go Novo instead. Military is what I meant with Ratio Edge, by the way. Navi doing their split. Circle pops. No one is in the middle. 7 is going to be like, are you kidding me? This is annoying. So Nogi pushes over. He sees that it's open. I think Gamer Legion have an idea that there's something available. So they push up and over, push further forward, get themselves into a decent center position. Now Liquid come over the top. And this is more of a play. Like, this is a play I would expect to see Liquid do in a circle where they thought 7 was there. So I think they might have thought 7 was there, based on how they're positioning right now. Because this is a very standard Liquid split. But that's normally a split they only make expecting there to be people down here. Ratio Edge gonna cross over, take the high ground position. Teams are positioning around Georgia Pole, and that's actually a little interesting to me. N47 on the east side. Knights up in the north. Reciprocity stays north. DA trying to take highway control. Highway is the area that we call this little piece of land where you can drive from the eastern side of the circle over to the western. I will be very good at explaining now. This is the highway. At least some people call it the highway. Where you can go that way and that way, right? So when people talk about highway, it's normally around here. Because if you sit up here with 2 people or something like that, odds are that at some point someone will come driving and maybe you can get a kill. G2, push below. They'll have themselves a decent position set up down there. Again, it's not about what you can see and where you are. You have to also be in a position from where you can rotate out should they need to go somewhere in particular. Yeah, Björn, that also makes sense. That you would be them because they were already there. Makes sense. 7, they're coming in late. Now they go back north, and this is a play that's very confusing to me. Okay, so it happens right before the circle shifts. Doesn't really make a lot of it. But already here, this is a scary push to make, in my opinion. Yes, they probably scouted it to some extent, but we've seen it before. We saw it on Miramar when they breached into N47. They're stopping here and looking forward. You see Buster and Sadovnik out of their vehicles. And then they crash up towards the forest, but they get there just as the circle leaves. So now they go back down, get themselves into a different spot, and they take Snake. Makes sense. They could have gone right over here, but they've also been killed in that compound a billion times before, so it makes sense that that they don't do that. Hello, Clay. How are you doing today? N47 and Face, they end up rotating on top of each other. Not a whole lot comes off of it, but still not the optimal scenario. And then this one. I don't get how Gamer Legion gets this before Ratio Edge does, but I guess Ratio Edge might just want to play a position that's less locked down. I'm very surprised with this shift that, first of all, called them into crosses. I don't know if it needed loot, but Ratio Edge, having sat here for so long, should know that this is open. But they don't get down in time. We can see them going to their vehicles, they're moving around, but they never leave anywhere. And I think that's a mistake on their part. Gamer Legion gets the compound. A lot of teams will be coming in from the north. Again, it's no guarantee that it's going to go down there. It could still go north field, but we are starting to get into that whole field that the circle might end up going down into the southern side. No PC to play games. Feels bad. Might as well come watch the scuffed streamer do analysis. Or scuffed analyst, I guess you can say. I don't know. Not even a Pro League analyst. New circle's gonna pop. Again, it doesn't have to go away from water yet. It's only circle 2. Remember that. But it does. We go away from water. All kinds of good. And now also, we're practically guaranteeing where on the map we're headed. We're gonna go into 4 Shack Field. And yes, that is the name from now on. And Hishi, thank you so much for the sub. I have my alert sounds off when I do these streams, just because I uploaded them to YouTube. But me explaining it, that's the same as having the alert sound on. In any case, yes, they go into the 4 Shack Field. Very nice place. Don't see what Bjorn is saying, because they're in the building with the windows, with the trees around. That's how specific Gamer Legion are on their callouts. Go to the building. That joke, sorry. Knights, they realize, well, we ain't gonna be sitting up here for long, so they go back down to where they were in the previous game. They get themselves a decent split there. Desperados wrapped all the way around. They did the same thing in the previous game too, and now they have a little more playing ground than what they had in the previous one. Ends still caught on the northern side, and Crowcar out there too. And then this shift comes. I think let's count it up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 if we can count Udyr as a team, but yeah, 10, 11, 12 teams out of 14 would probably have preferred that the game didn't go into that field. That's my bet. Maybe Gamer Legion is kind of fine with that happening because they can get to shoot a lot of people. But I think somewhere between 10 and 12 teams was sitting and saying, for the fuckity fuck, please do not go into that field. And obviously, this happens. So, yeah, I mean, it is into the field because I cannot talk on behalf of all of them. But it's obviously the 4 Shack Field. Now more than ever, because they're literally in the center of the circle. 1, 2, 3, 4 Shack Field. Or it could be Truck Field, because it's like one of those. Toot toot. I don't know why a truck would have that on the head, but you know what I mean. It's going that direction. And what do? So Adusi goes out by himself. You'd probably think that going 2 and 1 would make sense, but then again, there's a pretty big breach chance on the compound here right now. So scary things to do. And then I'm gonna slow this down for you. I'm actually gonna do something else. Give me 1 second. How can I do this? Why does it not work? No, I can't find my clip. Okay, it doesn't work. But in any case, if you go on the Twitter or Twitch of or is it this one? I guess it is. We'll just use that clip. Yes, I want you guys to see this from the perspective of a viewer. So 7 have to rotate, and it's only unfortunate because we had the exact similar situation happen with them yesterday. So watch this clip, guys. They end up getting shot at. I mean, Sadovnik is driving, and he's getting shot at from both Vasco and the N47 guys and from the team above. And he realizes we gotta turn around. So they crash into a Doozy shack. All 4. 4v1 pretty good chance of them winning the fight. Gotta say, pretty good chance. 4v1. What could go wrong? So what ends up happening is, and we're gonna zoom in so it's just pixels. Sadovnik gets knocked from Adusi. He spots him immediately. Then Adusi throws a nade on the building. In the meantime, that nade knocks 2. And they all die. Another thing that happens is that I think Buster tries to get out from there. So he wants to remove the car. And then he runs over his teammate. There was just a lot of things that actually, let me watch the play. Wait, I can't do it on the... That almost got me banned there for a second. Why can't I just watch it on this side? Yeah, so let's go through it real quick.
To sit to the one just by the hillside. There is a prime real estate 7 pulling.
So Dovnik doesn't even get to the building. He drives around it. Adusi holds off with a nade. Gets one with the first nade. Krabik goes into the car to move it so they can get inside. Runs over his teammate. Runs over 2 teammates. I didn't even notice that. Krabik runs over 2 of his teammates trying to move the car, and then he gets blown up himself. That is approximately the most unfortunate breach of a compound I've ever seen. But nonetheless, that happens. They all get taken down. If you didn't already see the clip, please go see it, because it's actually pretty entertaining. It's pretty damn entertaining. Everything went wrong in that breach. Everything. So Adusi is all by himself. He's in a good position. Now it's Desperado's turn to push forward. They end up stopping on the dip. Don't want to overcommit towards Adusi. Yeah, I don't really understand what happened there, but there's a lot of things I don't understand with how 7 plays. So G2 a little more successful in their breach. Managed to steal it away from Knights, I guess you can say, and they now have a little bit of a 1 versus 1 in terms of teams fight going on. Liquid managed to leave their compound. They get 1 knock, but they managed to get on over. NIP sees them leave. They all try to go, but Desperado spots them out. So all of a sudden, it's just Vard left alive. Very tough break for them. He tries to run around the back, finds 1, finds 2. Great play by Vard to not only stay alive, but potentially get into placement points. Not gonna happen though. 10 alive still, and he is down. So now field still in play. This one, keep in mind, is a wooden shack, so you can't really do a whole lot with that building once it's blown up. DA on the northern side, they decide to run forward, and I like this. I like this idea from them, but it's as if they run forward without wanting to go anywhere. So instead of going forward to push on either side, they go forward to stay in their position where there isn't really anything for them to play. So they use all their smokes on not going anywhere. Like right now, they have smokes everywhere thrown around to stay in cover, but they don't use them to move somewhere. They just use them to stay afloat. Where when there are 4 guys alive, they could have pushed this. They could have pushed up to the position that Liquid were in just before, but they decide to stay rather than make a move in any situation. Game Allegiant, they had the compound early. Of course, they're all kinds of happy with that. Now they get the hard shift too, so they're going to be able to play on this side of the circle, forcing all the other teams to fight. But at the same time, we know the circle is going to go dead center in just a moment, so might as well go up and claim that center position. And it works out. Oh, there's one more circle. I was being dumb. So it ends up there instead. And now, I mean, they have a buffer zone here. Bjorn designated to hold off wanted. They know that he's down there still. So since you're 4 guys alive, you can dedicate a player to holding off 1. Might as well do it from the circle instead, because when it's closing in, if you get knocked there, the blue will kill you. Get in. If you get knocked there, there might still be a chance for you to get rest. Now, Samty proning in the middle on purpose, not inside the shack, and I like that too. Samty prones on the bush outside rather than inside. Everyone knows this shack, also a wooden shack by the way, has a very big nade threat potential. I think Bestalog and Navi starts nading it. Game Legion nades it too. And they now get to move further forward. Bjorn gets a knock on 1. That's going to be them pushing forward because of it. I don't know how Bjorn spotted Samty, but very good. We didn't get to see that on the stream, but a nice reaction by Bjorn to kill Samty. I don't know if Samty maybe started shooting first, but they get the kill, and then it's just, I mean, when they still have nades, think about it this way. Game of Legion hasn't had a single up-close fight with anyone when they get here. So everything has been in the distance. Nades, smokes, still plenty available. And then when they get up here, right here, there's shooting. And then when you get up here, pew, 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 you can start throwing nades and literally create a red zone. Exactly, Heinz. Literally creates a red zone in that direction. Gets themselves the win. Quick, quing! And good game from Gamer Legion. 2 wins on the day. 2 wins on the day. Very, very, very needed points for them in the end of it. And it becomes an 11 kill win. Again, 21 points. So they get 42 points in 2 games. Pretty damn good. Of course, 12 kills for Na'Vi. Good game for them as well. They played this one somewhat similar, but on each of their side of the circle. Compound. Adushi, of course, gets himself... I think he actually only got 3 of the kills in that situation because Krabik going down without... Yeah, I think Buster actually got denied. So, pretty interesting scenario for them nonetheless. But that was all of PEL. We're gonna go straight over to NPL. So if you want